Hey guys, Retro Dude here. Thanks for visiting my channel again, where we check out all things retro. I do focus mainly on video games, but occasionally I'll go off and check out anime, cartoons, movies, maybe even retro toys as well. The main point of it is I like to reintroduce retro games or older games to newer generations. Our next title on the list probably needs no introduction at all. It's a long running series, it's beloved by all, it has iconic characters, it has an impressive music library, and it even claims the title of an entire genre. Well, it shares it with another. But I'm not here to talk about the entire series, I'm just here to talk about the original game. That's gonna be for another day. I want to talk about the one that started it all, Castlevania. The game was released in 1986. That makes it over 30 years old. You play as Simon Belmont, a lone hero who has to storm a castle, along the way kill Dracula, mummies, Frankenstein's monsters, Medusa, the Reaper, and many other classic horror movie monsters. And he does it in a single night. Yeah, this guy's a total badass. Badass. The game's a true classic. It's a pioneer. It deserves to be on top of there with the best games ever released, just solely on the legacy that it's left behind. There's been so many games across 30 years that have been left behind by it, and most of, not all, have been absolutely great games. It's an action adventure game. You only move left, right, you crouch, but you only get to attack left or right, so it makes it a little bit hard when you're attacking flying monsters or monsters that are floating around like the Reaper. Damn that bastard. You do get side weapons, so you get like a knife that you throw, it basically goes across the screen. You get an axe that actually, that one does attack diagonally, so it hits the flying monsters, which is pretty cool. You get a holy water that basically just sets up a little fire. It stuns most, if not all, of the characters that it hits, so it's a really powerful weapon. And it has the fan favorite boomerang, which is basically like a cross that goes across the screen and then comes back, so that's why we call it a boomerang, in the shape of a cross. So for this, I'm gonna take a look at how the graphics hold up, how the music holds up, and how the gameplay holds up, like the fun factor of it. Being as old as it is, I'm not sure how it's gonna hold up to the memory of it. I must have been like, what, 9 years old when I played it, so I remember it very fondly, but let's see how it actually held up. Now, one of the reasons why it's still so fresh in my memory is because of the music. I actually still have music from this game on my music playlist, my game's music playlist. As a matter of fact, you could make an entire playlist of just Castlevania music. Konami was blessed to have such great raw talent for their games. And if you're lucky enough to have played most of them like I was lucky too, because I got to enjoy these great games and the great soundtrack that came along with them. And we got to enjoy the birth of a brand new art form that hadn't been considered before, interactive art. You go to the museums and you just look at pictures. This is moving pictures. This is like the movies, except they're interactive, so you're playing along with it. And sometimes, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but in some games you just stop and you stop playing the game and just, you're amazed at how beautiful the scenarios are, how, like, the imagination that some of these developers have to create these worlds is just absolutely amazing. So this game was one of the pioneers in that. They actually developed it from the ground up, wanting to make it feel like a movie. So as I was playing it, I could tell you that I was so excited when a new stage popped up and the music happened. Like I was like, oh damn, I remember this song, and I was humming along to the stages. It was a great time just by that alone. So in my opinion, I would say it elevated the fun factor of the game just on the fact of the music. So yeah, music is still top notch in this game. So I go as far as to say that if you don't like Castlevania music, you're probably just dead inside, man. Dracula probably got to you already. You're one of those undead legion monsters or something. Are you? I'm watching you. Graphically, I think it's actually still pretty good. I mean, it does show its age. The backgrounds on it are repetitive, uh, but the enemies themselves are actually pretty well made, and they don't repeat as much as they used to at those types of games. So, for example, you get the Reaper, you get Frankenstein's monster, you get the Merman, you get Medusa, and you actually get floating Medusas as well. But the main Medusa is just the boss, and that's it. And what I like about it is, back in those days, they used to just basically change the color of a monster or a boss, and that was a whole new boss, which was kind of cheesy but understandable, being the limitations that they had. This game didn't do that. It didn't recycle the bosses. It basically, you like the first stage, you fought the giant bat, then you fought mummies, you fought Frankenstein's monster, you fought the Reaper, you fought Dracula. So it never felt repetitive when you were actually battling these monsters. So it was a really well developed experience, in my opinion. Not only that, the stages actually changed. They were very diverse. So you would go to the garden. Well, the beginning of the stage is just basically storming the castle, which is really cool. Uh, but like I said, you go to the garden, then you go to a clock tower, then you go to a dungeon, and finally to Dracula's lair. So even the stages weren't repetitive. The walk to go to Dracula when you're actually gonna fight him already, it's iconic in my opinion. Like you just remember whenever you talk about it, you picture it, and that's one of those things that I'm mentioning. Like they wanted to create that ambience, that atmosphere, that sense of dread, and everything on that. Being as old as it still looks very good. It's still impressive in my eyes, and just the music that went along with the graphics actually created that sense of like, yeah, this is the last fight that I'm going to be going into. So this game, it's not like I played it like all the time or anything. I mean, I hadn't played it in probably over 30 years. So it's a rather difficult game if you're not used to playing it. Emulators actually help out because you have save states and all of that. But if you're just playing it like in an old Nintendo game, like it was meant to be played, this game is actually pretty tough, man, because it's gonna get you. Obviously, once you learn the patterns, it's not really that difficult. It's actually a pretty quick game if you really look at it. It probably clocked in under 30 minutes or so, so it's not a long game by any means, but it's really enjoyable. Maybe that's why it didn't run on too long, so it didn't feel repetitive, and the music is just, oh my god, absolutely great. But regardless, if you're using emulators or if you're just playing it straight from the NES or however it is you're gonna play it, expect to die a lot. And just look for those little nuanced patterns and you'll just get used to it. And like I'm saying, the Dracula fight, it's tough as nails, man. I died so many times on that thing. I trying to get used to the pattern, but it's again, it's not that hard once you actually get the pattern. But oh, just to get to it, you think you got him, and then he just ups and transforms. Spoiler alert! And it's like, oh my god, I gotta start all over again on this guy. So once you think you're like, oh, I got him, he's dead. I chopped off his head with my whip. And then he just goes out and transforms. The bastard. I gotta say, I enjoyed killing him. A lot. Bastard deserved it. So if you ever do decide to play it, get ready for a lifetime of memories from this game. Just the music alone will stay with you 30 plus years. I'm speaking from experience. I guarantee it. So just to summarize, graphics, very impressive, especially for a 30 plus year old game. Music, to today's standards, it still stands up head and shoulders above pretty much anything out there. So even if it doesn't stand above them, it stands neck to neck with everybody else in the gaming industry. Still to this day, the music is absolutely amazing on this game. Fun factor, I mean, what can I say? It has classic adventuring, it has great graphics, and it has a soundtrack that you will be humming along to when you're playing it. So it's just a fun time all around. It's a definite recommend by me. I hadn't played this game in such a long time, and all the memories just came back in an instant when I was playing it, and it was fun as hell to play. I can't recommend it enough. And as always, if you guys have any suggestions on any games that I should be looking at, don't forget to leave them in the comment section. If you like what I'm doing, don't forget to click the subscribe button, hit me with a thumbs up. It helps out. And as always, stay retro.